A dominant performance from the Ohio State Buckeyes once again. Thanks for joining us here on the Ohio State Football Report for Overreaction Sunday. Ohio State dominated 56-0 in front of the home crowd at the Horseshoe. It was an incredible sight to see. Big Ten Network had the presentation of the game, and everyone in the country got to see what the Buckeyes are made of. And they dominate this past weekend. Ryan Day talked about how they prepped for this game against Western Michigan after a 52-6 win versus Akron the week prior. Ryan Day said this: "I felt we were about to come out into a game like this and dominate." Joey Kaufman from the Columbus Dispatch reported that and tweeted that out. Oh yeah, they dominated. You know, what the national audience got to see this week is what the Buckeyes are all about. Great offense, great defense, good special teams, a well-coached and well-prepped team. That's what I love to see, and I think for Ohio State fans, you have to be feeling very good about the way they played this past weekend because of the fact that this team was very balanced overall, established the run, and we're going to talk more about that in the show on where I really thought Ohio State did a good job today, because it's pretty much all positive for Ohio State. I really thought every aspect of this team and that game went well for the Buckeyes. But we also had some fun stuff happen on Sunday. Michigan lost. The team up north lost. Ha. Michigan lost. Like the video, because we want to beat the school up north. Let's give them multiple losses. They lost this early in the year. National champions, no more. They're no longer a good team. They got trounced by Texas. Quinn Ewers walked in to the big house in front of a sold-out crowd and said, "Watch this." Him, Isaiah Bond, they were just dominating that entire game. Michigan didn't have a chance. So like that video if you don't like Michigan, and let's get things going. So my first overreaction Sunday, Will Howard equals good. Why do I say that? I thought Will Howard looked really good and consistent for Ohio State. He had his moments of inaccuracy, but he overall played a really good game. Almost 70% on the completion percentage. The yards were there. Again, let's remember, Will Howard did not play a whole fourth quarter, so this is 3 quarters of play in one game. Only one passing touchdown, only due to the fact that Ohio State established the run really well. 0 interceptions, stayed clean once again. The rush yards, that was a 6-yard run for a touchdown, so Will Howard add a rushing touchdown to his name. I'm really pleased with the way Will Howard played with Chip Kelly calling the plays and Ryan Day managing the game, because a lot of people talked about how Will Howard the week prior looked kind of sluggish, a little inconsistent, a little inaccurate, and some poor decisions. He cleaned a lot of those up this past week. I would say the biggest thing that he could work on is accuracy. But the fact that Will Howard still put up those numbers in just 3 quarters, I think is very telling to what this Ohio State offense can really do against the opponent, where Howard does need to play all 4 quarters, and the first-team offense needs to get out there. Speaking of first-team offense, Quinshon Judkins, best running back in America. He's legit. He's our guy. He had a stud of a performance. Very slow in the first game against Akron, but this time, this is where he dominated. I had a feeling this was going to be the game he dominates in. Travion did the first game, 1A, 1B running backs. 9 carries, 108 yards. Talk about efficient. 2 touchdowns as well. This dude was able to break through the gaps in the tackles and just run his way all the way into the end zone. He's a freak, and I think he's the best running back in America right now. I don't think anyone comes close to what he does. I know Ollie Gordon at Oklahoma State, the other OSU, I'll put it. He's very good. He's one of the best in the country, but the way Quinshon played this past week on Saturday, I don't see how someone can play better than him, and I think he's going to get the love from Buckeye Nation he deserves, and the national media as well, because of the fact that he did these past 2 years at Ole Miss and dominated, and the fact that he did this at Ohio State, his second game with Travion Henderson in the running back room, just is telling to show what this team's going to be all about and how they establish the run. So support Quinshon, in the comments. Type those Q's, spam them as much as you can, because we want to show love to our boy Q Judkins, who was able to just get in there and get 2 touchdowns, run all over the Broncos defense and make them look silly. So we love our Quinshon Judkins. Type those Q's. Third overreaction. O-line, offensive line, surprisingly pretty good. And where I thought they were the best was the tackles. I was shocked. And I wasn't upset either. I was kind of expecting another Josh Fryer right side of the line performance where Ohio State wasn't going to look that good and they were going to look very inconsistent and the running block grades from PFF were going to be very bad. That's not the case. Simmons and Fryer, very good at what they did. They anchored the line on both sides. They protected Howard as much as possible because of the fact that Howard had a clean pocket, wasn't sacked, and the fact that Fryer was able to anchor Q and Travion and James People, I'll include him in there as well as the third running back, to the right side. I thought it was very clean. He did have one penalty. That's fine. That's not a big deal. One penalty. There was only 3 combined penalties in that O-line, including G. Scott Jr., who's a tight end, and Zen Michalski, who played in the fourth quarter as a backup offensive guard. Not worried. Josh Fryer, 1 tackle, was a holding call. That's okay. Cleaned those up with Justin Fry. Get ready. Get Donovan Jackson back because that was also very surprising. Still him not playing, but Seth McLaughlin played well. All these O-line guys played well. I'm curious for you, though. How did you think they played? Scale it 1 through 10 because this was so far, I know it was only 2 games at a small sample size, but this was their best performance out of the 2 games so far, and it wasn't even close. Will Howard looked a lot more polished. This O-line was a lot more consistent and balanced, and there was protection everywhere and able to get the run game established like we saw, and they were able to dominate against Western Michigan's defense that allowed 56 points. Let's remember that, 56. All right, 4th Overreaction Sunday point. Is this the best defense in America? You may say, Matt, really? 2 games? We're going to call them the best defense in America? Heck yeah, I am. I think this team's unreal. I think this defense led by Jim Knowles is ridiculous, and they can continue to get the sack numbers. Last week it was 6. This week it was 5. That's 11 sacks combined in 2 weeks. That's top 5 in the country right now. This defensive line is freaky. I mean, let's look at the depth chart quickly. We know who they are, the starters. Jack Sawyer, Ty Hamilton, Ty Leak, and JTT. JTT got some sacks. Jack Sawyer got some sacks. And then the craziest part is the whole backup, the backups number 2 for DNs and all the positions, Caden Curry to McDonald to Canoe and Jackson Jr., they all had significant playing time and all looked legit. I was really impressed with the way they played. I thought Caden McDonald, he had a PBU that knocked off the line. It was pretty good. This is the best defense in America, and I'm saying that because this D-line anchors them. Kirk Herbstreit said last week on the Pat McAfee show, the defense is the reason why they're the number 2 team in the country right now, not the offense. That's saying a lot. I'm really happy about that, and that also makes me think, okay, so if the D-line's never playing that well, still got great DBs, vice versa. But this D-line looked really consistent, able to get the TFLs. I know it's a lesser opponent than what they're going to be playing later on, but to see that they're still doing that against a school that Wisconsin played last week and played really tight, they were able to dominate. 5th and final point and takeaway from this day. J.J. Jeremiah Smith is the truth. Are you kidding me? This dude's a monster. This guy is 17 years old and putting up numbers like NFL wide receiver ones are in the league. This guy might be the best wide receiver, maybe college football player right now in the country. I think it could be between him, Quinn Ewers, Travis Hunter, and that's about it. Here's this from NFL Rookie Watch. They tweeted yesterday. Jeremiah Smith in his first 2 weeks as an Ohio State Buckeye. 11 receptions, leads the team. Check. 211 receiving yards, leads the team. Check again. 3 receiving touchdowns, leads the team. Cha-ching. The Buckeyes easily have the best wide receiver in the Big Ten, and he's just a freshman. Okay, just a freshman. He's got to play 2 more years at least after this year with Ohio State to be eligible for the draft. He's that guy. He's him. He's that dude, however you want to say it. He's a stud. He's a freak. And I think opponents, when it comes to Oregon, Penn State, Michigan, first off, let's put this that way. Penn State and Oregon struggled immensely against their opponents yesterday. Penn State barely beat Bowling Green, and Oregon barely beat Idaho, or Boise State, excuse me. They played Idaho last week and barely escaped them. This week, Michigan lost. So if Jeremiah Smith's going to do the damage that those teams had to deal with against lesser opponents, we're in for a fun time as Buckeye fans. And let's not forget that we're not even talking about Cornell Tate or Emeka Ibuka, and yet those are 2 legit studs for the NFL for the future. All right, if you're not subbed to the channel, we've been growing like crazy ever since the season has started. We've been growing actually ridiculous, hundreds of subscribers per week. I really appreciate everyone that's subscribing. If you're a Buckeye fan and you bleed scarlet and gray like me, Hit that sub button. You want more content. You want to learn more about the Buckeyes and get every daily news, rumor, injury status, press conference, and more. I'm your guy. I'll talk about all the time. Follow me on Twitter as well, Matt Goldman28. I really do appreciate it. And this is the fun stuff, talking about the Buckeyes. 56-0 is the win. Week 3, Marshall next. Buckeyes, let's go, OH.